Good news! One of my favourite books from childhood, The Reluctant Vampire, is being turned into a TV show. Bad news. It sounds like the BBC is trying to insert uplifting messages into it. So in the years leading up to his death, the comedian Eric Morecambe wrote 2 children's books about a family of vampires. The BBC announced recently that it was turning the first of these into a 6-part sitcom. The Reluctant Vampire was published in 1982, and it's a warped fairy tale full of cheesy puns and the kind of bad taste jokes that Roald Dahl might have enjoyed. It's about the young Prince Valentine, who lives in a castle in Catch-em-by-the-throat in the mid-European country of Gotcha. One day, out of nowhere, he announces that he doesn't like drinking blood. He prefers crisps and a glass of red wine instead. Before long, we've learned that he's not a bloodsucker at all. He's a human foundling, raised lovingly by the vampire king Victor, who speaks like Bela Lugosi's Dracula, and his queen, Velita. He eventually winds up falling in with the villagers who stage a cartoonish revolution to overthrow his parents, basically. Unlike his adult novel, Mr. Lonely, which came out a year earlier and told the story of a tragic, second-rate comedian in the clubs of England, it's not exactly deep. Here's a typical paragraph. If you're a sensitivity reader, brace yourself.
Victor had never seen a werewolf with such a surprised look on his face. Its face had the same look a midget would have who had just been told he had won the long jump in the Olympics.
There's a werewolf called Wilf who asks his mum for sandwiches and hangs around the local tavern a lot. And a running gag about a servant who used to be a troubadour, but was so terrible that entire villages banned him from singing. His name is Ronico Said, which is Des O'Connor backwards.
That is the best record Des has ever made.
You mean there's nothing on it at all? Did you hear? Oh, where did you get it from?
Boots!
Boots! Do you need a prescription?
I got it at the poison counter.
At the poison counter! At the poison... How do you do?
Have you seen that nose there? God, looks like Concord coming out the hangar for the first time. And those teeth! Like a set of white bullets at the end of a long, dark tunnel, you know. It's ridiculous. I feel ill every time. What's the matter?
I like him.
One of Valentine's sidekicks is the castle's resident hunchbacked dog's body, known as Igon, because he's missing an eyeball. He's so ugly that his body-shaming mother used to beat him up as punishment when he was a kid. And throughout the book, Morecambe gleefully describes the kind of Looney Tunes violence that other characters inflict on him. By the finale, however, Igon has been magically transformed into an Adonis as a reward for his loyalty. I can't wait to see if that kind of symbolism makes it into the TV version. But let's hear from the BBC press release, shall we?
BAFTA winner Lenny Rush is the reluctant vampire in a brand new supernatural comedy from Buffalo Pictures for BBC iPlayer and BBC One, based on the books by Eric Morecambe, written by Rob and Neil Gibbons' Alan Partridge. This coming-of-age sitcom is about a young vampire who finds out he is not in fact a vampire at all and has to live a double life.
Has to lead a double life. Okay, I don't know if I'm reading too much into this.
Set in a timeless English village, where everything is picturesque. Everything, that is, except for the vampires living in the castle on the hill who come out at night for a little drink of the locals. Val has been raised in a very typical vampire family, but has always felt a bit different and hopelessly inept at rising to meet his dad's high standards. Following a surprise encounter with his reflection, he realizes he is not undead, not in the least bit. Now, with a big secret to hide, Val must navigate finding out who he truly is, by mingling with the locals to learn the intricacies of their behavior and what it means to be human.
Not a major plot point in the book, but fair enough, they don't have to slavishly follow it. Let's carry on.
Caught between two worlds as he loves his mum and dad, not so much his jealous brother, and has full vampire duties expected of him by his father, whose obsession with the traditional way of life is tricky when they're undead and the villagers despise them. A heart-warming show about finding your own identity while longing to fit in, and the tensions between family life and social life, and the struggle between conformity and kicking out against the path that's been prescribed for you.
So he's always felt a bit different. He's striking out against his parents, and he's finding out who he truly is. And he's now called Val, not Valentine, which is a nice gender-neutral name, I suppose. Thank goodness, as we've seen from Doctor Who, the BBC never tries to slip socio-political messages into its shows in ways that are teeth-grindingly clumsy.
Lenny Rush says, "How lucky am I to bring to life something from the mind of comedy legend Eric Morecambe? I just love Robin Neil's interpretation, so many jokes and brilliant ideas. The flying might be a stretch, but I'm game for anything."
It's also interesting that it's now set in England, where people despise the undead royal family.
John Petrie, director of comedy, BBC, says, "The Reluctant Vampire is exactly the kind of distinctive comedy we're passionate about at the BBC. Rob and Neil Gibbons have brilliantly adapted Eric Morecambe's work into a sharp, character-driven sitcom that delivers both big laughs and genuine emotion. With the incredibly talented Lenny Rush in the lead role, we're confident this will become one of the standout comedies of the year."
Now, it's possible that Rob and Neil Gibbons will stay true to the spirit of the novel and that the press release is simply written in BBC progressive speak. But let's just say I have my doubts. In some ways, Morecambe was a different breed from today's comedy writers simply by virtue of when he was alive. He was a Tory voter from the age of variety. He congratulated Margaret Thatcher on her 1979 election victory. Here's what he told a journalist in 1982.
My books aren't great works of art, but they sell. The name Eric Morecambe still means something in this country.
His kids' books are knockabout farces, similar in tone to Carry On Screaming. But it sounds like they're having a kind of cod profundity injected into their bloodstream. In 1983, not long before he died, he said he'd love his kids' books to be turned into cartoons. The first had been translated into German and Danish, which pleased him enormously.
I wrote it with a cartoon in mind. The ideas and figures I thought of were cartoon-type ideas and figures.
We can't know what the ultimate in funny British dads who turned to writing books while recovering from open heart surgery in his mid-50s would make of all this. But at least when the sitcom is screened, kids will once again read his vampire novels in their thousands. If the sensitivity readers don't make changes to them first, that is. Maybe I shouldn't give them ideas. Well, that's what I think. Now it's over to you in the comments. Have you read the Reluctant Vampire books? Are you looking forward to the BBC's adaptation of the first one? As I understand it, there's a third book, The Vampire King, which makes it a trilogy. His son Gary completed it, but it was only ever published in Denmark. Should that be translated and screened as well? Let me know. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Bring me sunshine, as they say. Till the next time.
What do you think of it so far?
Rubbish!